Welcome, everyone who is here for our panel today on parenting through advanced cancer. We're going to give everyone about 30 seconds to pop into the meeting and then we will get started. If you're brand new to Bright Spot Network, just want to let you know that we are a community of parents who have been diagnosed with cancer while pregnant or parenting young children. And we provide support and resources to help you parent through a cancer diagnosis. Our parents come from all over the country, and we provide support through many different ways. One is through our free book program called Bright Reads. We also have a free Bright Box, which is an art and craft box to be a point of connection for you and your children. We have a small financial grant, many different virtual support groups for the person with cancer, for partners, for parents with an advanced cancer diagnosis. We have groups for parents in post treatment, for parents of color, and a few other ongoing meetups. We have monthly connections for kids through our Bright Circle Bright Club group. We have webinars like this one today and some wellness workshops, family resource navigation, and a wealth of web resources that you can find on our website. Lots of guides, videos, coloring sheets, all to help young children understand a cancer diagnosis and the big feelings that accompany it. To engage in today's webinar, you can enter questions into the question box. We will hold all of the questions until the very end. You can check to submit it anonymously if you'd like. I do encourage you, though, if you have a question and you don't want to lose it, go ahead and type in that question when you have it, just so that you don't forget, and I'll just hold it until the end. I will be dropping a link to a survey for this webinar at the very end. I will also include it in the follow-up email. We really do appreciate your feedback. So about today's panel, but also ideas for future webinars. That's how we continue to plan our calendar. This webinar is being recorded. We will send out a recording of it to everyone who is registered so that if you do need to step away at any point or want to be able to rewatch it, share it with someone, you will have the link to do so. All right. I am going to pass it over to our incredible moderator, Delta James, who has been a facilitator with Bright Spot Network for a long, long time. Deltra, I'm going to let you take over moderation.
Righty, welcome everyone. I'm excited to be here with you all. Gathering even virtually is so powerful. As Carissa already said, I've been with Bright Spot Network for a while and I love this community. I will tell you a little bit about myself and the reason that I'm here today. I am a mama of 5 awesome girls and just became a grandma. So I know a little bit about navigating parenting. And in 2019, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So navigating parenting became just added on a little more of a challenging block. But we've been doing it for 6 years now, and communities like this is essential. So I'm glad that you guys are all here and locked in. Um, before I pass the mic around, will let you know I am Connecticut based. And as I said, I have my 5 kiddos, and NBC is what brought me to here. I'm going to pass the mic over to our awesome panelists so that they can just share their names and where they're from, cancer diagnosis, and what your family looks like and what brings you to the panel. So a little overview of your own stories. Michelle and Patrick, you're right beside me virtually. So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Patrick.
We live in Los Angeles, California, San Pedro to be exact. We have a 5, almost 6-year-old daughter. Brought her Stuffy to stand in for her. She's gonna think it's cool. I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer in December of 2022, so we're almost 3 years into this journey. And I'm in active treatment, still trying to get stabilized. Want to add anything?
Age, I'm 49 and Michelle is
46. And yeah, we've been doing Bright Spot almost from the beginning because Patrick's dear childhood friend, she had breast cancer while she was pregnant, and was friends with people in Bright Spot, and it's been a saving grace. For us, it was the first group that really felt understood, and we've continued with these. So we wanted to also give back to other parents and let them know how helpful it is.
Thank you guys for sharing. Rebecca?
Hi all, my name's Rebecca Bixby. I'm located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm 44 and I was diagnosed the same as Michelle in December of 22, but I was diagnosed with rectal cancer. I've been in treatment pretty much the whole time. I have a 9-year-old daughter and I'm at work. I work at the school that she goes to, so that's great. A little bit about my journey. It's just been a lot of treatment for rectal cancer. The motto is cut it out wherever it is. So, like a bunch of abdominal surgeries, a lot of radiation, a lot of chemo. I had a radiation simulation yesterday. I'm getting radiated tomorrow for my bones. It started in the rectum and it was already in my liver and lungs at diagnosis. And then now it's also in my bones, and I had a craniotomy in December 24 for a cerebellar mass. So it's been a lot. Bright Spot, I've got connected pretty early on and have really enjoyed the groups. And as Michelle said, I think Bright Spot really gets it. And it's a great resource for parents. And it's been a great resource for me parenting with advanced stage cancer.
Thank you, Rebecca. And finally, Joe and Ashley.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe.
And I'm Ashley.
We are living in the Bay Area. I married a Michigan native, but we are living in the Bay Area now in California. I am 39 and Ashley is 34. Last year, I retired from the Army after 20 years. And 2 months later, I was diagnosed with, I had a seizure while visiting my mom in California. And I was diagnosed with terminal glioblastoma brain cancer. So I had a craniotomy in December and was chemo and radiation, 6 months, 6 weeks of radiation, 6 months of chemo. And now it's just MRIs every 2 to 3 months for the rest of my life to detect regrowth. The doctor told us with my variant of this, generally speaking, people have about 3 to 5 years remaining from the time that the tumor gets taken out. And in about 3 months will be 1 year, and then since it's been taken out. So I got it taken out about 9-10 months ago. So yeah, we got 2 littles. I got a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old. And Ashley has been keeping our family afloat during all this, during all the surgeries, the hospital stays, the being exhausted from chemo, all that. Like she makes sure that the family is taken care of. The kids make appointments. The insurance the bills are paid and everything. And it's, uh, I couldn't do it without her. She has been my rock through this whole thing. And she allows me to focus on the cancer, while taking care of me and the family. And so I couldn't love or appreciate her more.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. My background is an elementary school counselor. And so when Joe first got diagnosed, I knew that I needed some support for our kids. And, how do we talk to our kids about this? But there's just not a lot out there for the 0 to 5 kids, especially. And so we found Bright Spots, and we are so, so, so thankful. So we're happy to be here and share our story and talk to other parents who might benefit from Bright Spots as well.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for being here. It's great to come together in any way. And I love how this has become just a spouse shout out, support system shout out. I want to start off on a high note and talking about community, which is what we are. And so I'm gonna throw out the first question of the night. And that is, what is something big or small that someone did who's a part of your community that just made a difference for you, for your family? Could be recent or especially in the beginning of your diagnosis.
Thank you. Yeah, for us, it's just been people who have just shown up to do life with us. The best gift we've ever received from people has been the people who they come over, they just look around, they notice what needs to be done, and they quietly just do it. Whether that's folding laundry, entertaining kids, bringing over food. Because when you're in the thick of it, when you're in crisis mode, it's hard to even know what you need sometimes, let alone to be able to articulate that to people. And so we've, had a lot of well-meaning people say, let me know if you need anything. But it's just hard. It's hard to know how to answer that question. And so I think the biggest help for us has been people who just come and do life with us.
Yeah. Anyone else relate to that? Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't always know what you need.
I agree. I mean, just having someone offer I can bring you dinner this week or something, it's just a huge help. Or someone who comes by and says, I can take your daughter to the playground or something. Just give us a breather here and there. And for me, it's just getting a text message from someone checking in. How's it going? Can we do anything? Even if I don't need anything at that moment, just makes me feel like part of a community.
And I think, being 3 years into this, everybody gets a little bit of fatigue, or, we've been lucky that I haven't had big moments of time where I've been incapacitated. I've worked full time throughout this. So I think sometimes people don't know how to step in and do the helping. But what's really wonderful is when kind of people show up, and every time we try to celebrate our birthdays, and we have a lot of loving friends that show up for our daughter. And that's really important for me, that people are actively, choosing to be in her life and make memories with us. And those random, text messages of thinking of you, or if someone remembers, how was your 4th radiation session? It means a lot.
Absolutely. I think those text messages with no obligation for you to reply are some of my favorites. Just a simple thinking of you. And I think often we don't know what we need. Other people may not know how to show up, but you guys are so right. Just the showing up itself is extremely helpful. And I love what you said, Michelle, about people getting fatigued. Advanced cancer is a marathon, not a sprint to a finish line. And I think sometimes, especially when you're doing well in a moment, people can start to kind of forget what your family is dealing with. So what's one thing that you want people to understand about what it's really like to be a parent with stage 4 cancer, a family that's living with it, because it affects us all, as we know.
So one thing that I posted this on Facebook recently, and you know, one of the things I do a lot more nowadays is just stare at my kids. I do, and I just wonder like what type of people are they going to be like when they grow up? You know, because with a 1.5 and a 3.5 year old, and me being given approximately 3 to 5 years left to live, like I'm not going to be around to see them grow up. And so I always just wonder. I just love staring at them while they're playing, or when David's at school, when Stella's learning she learned how to crawl off of our bed today by using the little steps, you know, at 1.5 years old. And so I just sit around wondering a lot, like, what are they going to be like when I grow up, and are they going to remember me? And Ashley hit on this great idea. She bought cards like 10th birthday, 8th birthday, 15th birthday, happy graduation, happy 21st birthday, happy wedding day, congratulations on your new house. Like all of these cards that I can write now so that they can open them later in life. And I posted that on Facebook, and one of my friends, you know, he lost his mom when he was a kid, and he responded. He said, you know, I would, this would be such a gift for me if I had this. Like, I think his mom passed away a little bit more suddenly and unexpectedly. But, you know, she didn't have a chance to write these letters. And he goes, what I wouldn't give to open up a birthday card from my mom nowadays, you know, like what was she thinking back then? And so, but when I started writing these cards, it took me a while to start writing them, because every time I would open a card, I would just pour out tears thinking about what my kids are going to be like. You know, and it's also awkward writing a happy 21st birthday card to your 1.5 year old, you know? And so I didn't know, do I talk to them like they're adults, or do I write the card like I would talk to her right now as a 1 year old, you know, and like, you know, baby speak. And I was like, well, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I don't know. How would I talk to my 21-year-old daughter, you know, 20 years from now? So, you know, it's a lot of just wondering about the future. What's it going to be like when I'm not around? You know, what are my kids going to be like? How is Ashley going to do? I mean, she's an amazing mom, and she's gonna make sure that the kids are taken care of. I know that, but it's not going to be easy at all. And so I hope that I set my family up for as much success after I leave, whether that's financial, whether that's emotional support, um, whatever the case may be, cards and letters, things like that. And so that's what consumes some of my time nowadays.
Very different type of parenting. Anyone else want to add in? Rebecca?
Yeah, I think like you just said, Delta, it is a different kind of parenting, but one of the things I always would like people to know is that we're no less of a parent because of our diagnosis, you know, like even if I'll speak for myself, but I mean, there's sometimes when I'm sick and I really can't get out of bed, but there are times when I just need to lie down, but I can still talk and help with homework and interact and be a mom, you know. So I think that's something, an area where I have felt a little bit defensive sometimes, of people kind of making assumptions about my ability to parent, and having cancer and going through things. And I think it's really good to have people who understand you and understand your rhythms and your good times and bad times, and when it's good to have your kids around, and when if you can get some help. Of course we need help sometimes, but we still really really want that connection, or I do, you know, as much as possible. So that's something I always want people to know.
Thank you for sharing that, Rebecca. Definitely resonate with that. The parenting might look different, especially from day to day, but it's still parenting.
Yeah, for me, I think about like, it's always trying to fit these two pieces together in our world, like cancer and being a parent, and it just doesn't quite, always fit. And sometimes you have to juggle one over the other, but it's really hard. Right? You're like, I'm fighting, right? This cancer, I'm going through treatment. And sometimes I want to like, I thought I'd be able to like whip out the like cancer card a little bit more in parenting. Zoe, our daughter, was 3 years old when I was diagnosed. And so, I mean, she was ultimate toddler. And she understands I have cancer, but she really like, she calls us out on being mom and dad. You know what I mean? Like, um, she's like, she gets it, but at the same time, um, we just like life keeps going, and that's hard sometimes, where it's like I I find myself in these like episodes of balancing, like I want things to be normal, right? Like I want her to have a normal day. Like, isn't it great that we have like the normal problems of like she's a picky eater, or like how to, this morning screaming and yelling about like getting ready for school. And then other times, I want it to be like, but we are in a different, circumstance. We're like doing this at the same time of dealing with something really heavy and hard. And like my daughter's like super close to her dad, and like I love that, but I miss things too. Like I want that closeness with her. And I know it's hard, like when I'm recuperating or having a rough moment, like they'll be out, I'll be in my room and they'll be out in like the living room or the dining room, and I hear them like, playing or like arguing with each other, like trying to get something done. And I know sometimes it's hard for Patrick that I like I'm there as if like I'm like shutting myself off, but oftentimes I'm like, I'm also in there just like listening to life, listening to them, and really kind of feeling like both of these worlds like colliding together. And so it's like sometimes I have this guilt of like, you're supposed to live life to the fullest every day, whatever. That's just not possible to do, because I hope to be around for a very long time, right? And so to kind of like teeter-totter that balance of like being in the moment, savoring like the silliness with her, and then making space for, oh my goodness, like we're doing this, life is, very intense right now, and kind of proud of ourselves that like we're trying to create some normalcy for her. It's just ever changing, ever changing. And so it's bittersweet. It's like what I usually summarize it as. Do you want anything?
Very relatable. And that leads me into another thought that's brought up all of the like mix of emotions that can come up when you're the parent with cancer. So how do you process your own big emotions, including anticipatory grief and thinking about the things that were just mentioned, like how the other spouse is going to parent without you? It does bring up a lot of emotion. When you're kind of navigating our own emotions and thinking about families, children's emotions, as Ashley had mentioned. I'd love to hear for you guys to share what that's like for you. I know part of it is certainly community.
Yeah, I apologize for jumping off. I'm a school nurse, and a kid like blew through all my signs that said I'm in a meeting. Of course, I
Kids
couldn't
will do that.
not say something.
There's no pulling cancer cards on kids.
All
Okay.
right. So, personally, I don't find it very productive for me to dwell on the end and my death and not being around my child because that is extremely sad and it doesn't really take me anywhere and I can't really do anything about it. So I do try to focus on things I can do when I'm feeling sad. Um, and I think other people mentioned sort of legacy projects and writing cards, but that makes me sadder sometimes. Um, so more like planning celebratory things. We celebrate everything now, like half birthdays, quarter birthday, I mean, whatever. Um, Beginning of school, end of school, all the things that before I might not have taken note of. Now anything that marks sort of an achievement, I use as an opportunity to like make memories. And I think that's really important to stave off grief, and it feels very productive to make core memories for my daughter that I think she'll be able to come back to. And also Lexapro and also therapy. So those are the ways that I handle it.
Thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Another vote for therapy for sure. Anyone else want to share?
We can so very similar things as Rebecca mentioned, like, so I'm a social worker therapist by trade. So I was already in therapy dealing with other stuff when I got this diagnosis. It's been an interesting journey for my therapist and I, like, to have gone through this together. And I dragged him in through like some couple sessions. And now she's his therapist as well. And that has been so wonderful. That's helpful for each of us to have that space. Zoloft is my drug of choice that's helped. And I'm an emotional person by nature, right? Like I cry at like commercials and cute, sweet things. And it's cathartic for me, right, to like let things out and cry. And so, but I know that that's not how he processes, things like everyday things, or my family or my friends. Like a lot of them will, like, they'll feel their feelings away from me, when we talk about stuff. So I learned to let it out in my own ways. Like in the beginning, I like really binged all these like movies that had, cancer diagnosis or families or even like documentaries. And I did it to like, I was just able to experience thoughts and feelings and emotions and with, by myself and cry and like just kind of have that, because I knew, people weren't, really in that space to talk about things. I mean, I have had conversations with him about like, what are you gonna do when she's a teenager? Like, you need to like, if I'm the one who's like, more caring, is like, but are you gonna talk to her about this? Or are you gonna do that? And like, I know that's not helpful for him or fair to him. So like, I've really thought about like, okay, Michelle, like, what are some of the things that like you really hope, right, will get passed on to her, or something, that you would want to be a focus on or keep alive for her. And like those are the things that like, I tell him I want, and I have no say over what's gonna happen. I like look forward to things, so I'm not like sad about it. Like she started kindergarten this year. It was I didn't know, right, if I would see first day of kindergarten. And we, enjoyed it. So I try to think about, right, the things that I want to enjoy, see if I can make that happen now, like celebrate the things. And then I let myself cry it out. I've really latched on to community resources around, writing and art. So I've done a ton of workshops, writing prompts about cancer and parenting with cancer and just art. And that's really been helpful to me. And it's a thing I can do with my daughter. She loves anything arts and crafts. So that's also something that kind of bonds us together. She loves to see what I make or what did I do with my group. Yeah, we do it in all my new art supplies that I keep buying. Yeah. Do you wanna-
Yeah, I mean, I've cried a lot, and also at some point then started therapy, although I never had therapy before. But that's been really helpful, and especially the Spot partner groups where you don't feel alone and you just see all the other parents that go through the same stuff. I mean, we did a group on Monday, it's a big group, and I felt like every little thing like someone mentioned was like I went through that same experience at some point. So it's just like been so great to have that resource. Um, yeah.
I love that everyone processes so differently. The same, their similar experience, but being processed differently, like wanting to focus on big celebrations, and that's important too, and creating tradition. And also wanting to sit and watch movies that, you can now unfortunately relate to, but there's such a release in letting the emotions get out there. And I see people relating in the chat too. So speaking of emotions, how have you guys helped your own children with coping with the uncertainty? It's hard to cope with as an adult, like not knowing what's to come or when things are going to change, and they change up on us all the time. So how do you help your children? What does that look like?
Um, I think Patrick has done a wonderful job for Zoe that, I mean, he keeps her life very consistent. Like, she's priority, number one beyond like, 911 emergency instances. And I think that like we've always been like honest with her, about kind of what's going on and what needs to be done. But just this just a reminder to her, like, we're here, like whether I'm in appointments or not feeling well, or, dad's at work or is helping mom, like, and we have all these other like friends and family in our life. And she's seen me, so in, like, less than 3 years, like I've done a variety of treatments. Like I did oral medication, I've been through chemo, now I'm back on oral, I've done radiation, I lost my hair, it's growing back. And so like, we talk about those things, we roll with the punches. Like, she was very opinionated about like if I'd wear a wig or not wear a wig or when I went and stuff like that. But I think that like, just the usual kind of parenting things of like, I mean, this is hard, but I'm also like, how the heck are we doing this in the world today? Like there is just so much going on everywhere on so many different levels. And it's kind of like that, I think, for so many parents right now. It's like, how do you keep normal along with like the landmines that are out there? So we really just try to like ground her in love and resilience.
Yeah, I wanted to feel safe and to know that there's always someone there to take care of her. She had asked me before, like, who's gonna die first? So you or mama. So there's something going on in her head for sure. She's thinking about stuff. But yeah, her feeling safe and cared for. That's like the most important part.
Love that. Yeah, we all need that when it comes to navigating life and life uncertainties. Joe and Ashley.
So as Ashley mentioned earlier, you know, there wasn't a whole lot out there to from the 0 to 5 year old group. You know, obviously we haven't sat our 1.5 year old down and had extensive talks about cancer with her. But our 3.5, he's almost 4 now, is he 3 3/4? He picks up on a lot, you know, even if he doesn't fully understand it. So we have to be careful about what we say around him. We can't just have conversations about what doctors tell us around him, because he won't sit there and ask us for clarification on things he doesn't understand. He'll listen, and then he'll figure it out on his own with his own understanding of things, you know. And so we've sat him down and explained to him, Daddy has something called brain cancer, and I got a surgery, and my surgery is right here above my right ear. That looks like a little, like, you know, square. And so David calls it Daddy's box. And so I wear an Optune device, which is like a medical device that sends pulsating electrical currents through your brain, and it kills fast multiplying cancer cells while leaving your brain cells alone. And it's FDA approved to extend your life expectancy by months, and in some cases years. And so, you know, this is Daddy's cancer hat, you know, and this is Daddy's box, and you know, Daddy has cancer in his brain, all that. So it's been awkward, because there have been times when he's asked questions that are not really 3-year-old appropriate, you know, or he's heard things that he wants to ask mommy and daddy about that were like how are we supposed to answer that, you know? And so, you know, Bright Spots has been one of the resources that we've used to talk to our almost 4-year-old about cancer in a way that is not going to scare him, and in a way that is that he can understand and process. And Ashley reminds me all the time, you know, hey, careful about what you say around David, you know, because he can't really process those adult conversations. And like, you know, I remember one time I casually mentioned to Ashley, you know, oh yeah, I remember. So the doctor gave me 3 to 5 years left to live, yada, yada, and I didn't even know he overheard that. And so he asked me about it later. He's like, Daddy has 3 years to live. And I was like, oh shoot. Oh, it's you know, I just kind of froze. I didn't know what to say. I was kind of on the spot there, and so I just making sure that he only hears age appropriate things and in a way that he can process is important to us.
Yeah, we try to be very honest, but also very intentional, and give him space to ask questions and feel those feelings. The books about cancer that we've received from Bright Spots are really helpful. And especially, you know, there's not very many books out there that talk about when a parent's cancer or illness doesn't go away, but there are a couple that do exist. And we've really leaned into those. And, you know, we tell him sometimes cancer goes away, but sometimes it doesn't. And we hope Daddy's stays away, you know, for a long time, but one day it will come back. And I think what's so incredible about young kids is, even though this is so incredibly difficult navigating an advanced cancer diagnosis with young kids, but something that they really have in their favor is they are so incredibly resilient. It's amazing. I think our kids are probably more resilient than we are as adults. And they are just able to take in information and be like, okay, and go on with their day.
That is quite true. I used to hate when people would say children are so resilient. Probably because I don't want them to have to be, but to be human. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, just even when cancer isn't one of the things that is a part of the mindset that you're walking, there's just so much in the world. So I would love to hear from you because we all like to dote on our kids. Ways that you've seen resilience kind of shine through as your family has dealt with cancer. Ways that that's come up for your kids. I know with my 5 girls, I've seen them bond so much, and the older ones care for the younger ones so much, and it's brought me so much comfort to know that even if they have to be mother, daughters who lose their mother, like they have each other to go through it with, which might sound a little weird, but in some ways it's brought me a lot of comfort. And even something as small as them going away to gather at a camp with other kids who have a parent with cancer, and like at a when in the beginning they didn't want anything to do with those kind of spaces. It's one way that I see as certainly as being resilient, just the things that we've gotten through together.
Yeah, so for us, again, speaking strictly for my 3.5-year-old, because my 1.5-year-old only cares about apples and mommy kisses. I've tried to have detailed conversations about cancer with her, and she doesn't seem to care. No, the way that I've seen resilience shine through with my 3.5-year-old is we read this book early on in my diagnosis. This is like right after my craniotomy in December last year, called Cancer Hates Kisses. And it was such a cute little age appropriate book. And it talks about how cancer hates kisses and hugs and love and fun and smiles and all that. And we read this book, and it has really stuck with him because he still talks about it. And this was like, what, 7, 8, 9 months ago now that we've read it to him. And so, at his age, sometimes he'll just run up to me and give me a kiss and go, "Take that, cancer." He's so cute about it.
That is
And
great.
yeah, and or like he'll give me a hug and like we're gonna get the cancer, and he gives dad a cancer fighting hug, and so yeah, just trying to, and I don't want to. I want to show them, if it's one of the last things I do that they remember, is that this is not going to bring me down. Not, I'm not walking around moping around. I'm I want to show them, like, no matter what, like, stay positive. We're going to keep making these memories. We're going to keep having fun. I think the Army have definitely prepared me for this. I have two tours through Afghanistan and one through Iraq. And if the Taliban had 2-year-long chances to take me out, the Iraqi insurgents had a year at it. And I got a 1 and a 3-year-old. I was like, I feel like I've been through everything. This is a little bit of terminal brain cancer ain't gonna bring me down, and so we're just gonna keep having fun. And I want to make sure that they know. I think it was Michelle. I can't remember if it was Michelle or Rebecca who said earlier, like, it's a different kind of parenting, but you're still parenting. Like, I don't want my kids' last memories of me to be sad and mopey, worried about the future and all. And like, let's just make memories and have fun. Let's just kick this thing's butt until we can't anymore. And yeah.
Yeah.
So I just try to bring that energy to our kids and
Yeah.
show them that no matter what, like, you can't bring us down.
Yeah. And I think in turn, our kids are incredibly resilient, things happen and they roll with it.
Yeah.
They're really adaptable. And like Joe said, this is our life, for better, for worse, this is the life we have. So how are we going to live it?
That's so great. I think our kids seeing us being resilient. And I don't mean strong when I say that. They can see us have emotion, be disappointed, and need to figure things out and navigate uncertainty. But I think us being resilient trickles down to our kids. Yeah, I think we're getting close to time to open up for some questions, but I do have one more for you that I'd love to hear from all of you. I know that Joe mentioned some awesome legacy projects, and I saw someone in the chat mention one of my personal favorite resources, Inheritance of Hope, who helps you to create legacy videos, which is really, really cool. Especially if you don't want to write cards, videos might be the way to go. But are there any particular resources that have just been really helpful to you, your family, that you want other families with advanced cancer to know about? And also, if there's any legacy projects that you've done that maybe we haven't thought to do.
So we
Yeah.
did one day, oh, sorry, Ashley, we did one
Go
day to
ahead.
remember, which is a group that does trips for stage 4 moms with cancer, I think mostly, or in their families. And we went from Philly to New York City, saw a show that was really nice. So there are organizations that help support. That's not exactly legacy, but in terms of making memories, you know, that kind of thing. And then I also, like Joe had said, have done cards, done photo albums of places we like to go together, of places she likes to go with her family, just trying to build up those connections. It's One Day to Remember, I believe, is the organization. I'll get the link, or Carissa can, because she's really good at that. And yeah, I think building up linkages between her and family members, and also money, you know, just since we're young, I'll just put it out there. You know, now I don't really have to retire. So I think thinking about supporting her in other ways has also been top of my mind. I do represent a kind of different demographic in being a divorced parent with stage 4 cancer. Divorce is, I think, a little bit statistically higher with women who are diagnosed with stage 4 for whatever reasons. We were already having separate issues, but I do think it sealed sort of the deal when I was diagnosed, because I wanted to be in a safe, loving place and know that my daughter was in one as well, and moving forward. So my focus is really on her safety and health and ability to be cared for the next like 10 years until she's 18 plus.
Beautiful about that.
Legacy projects have really been kind of at the forefront of our mind since Joe's diagnosis. We talked about Inheritance of Hope earlier. They're incredible. We've done a family song, a family legacy video, and are going on a family retreat with them. There's a ton of other organizations. AI has actually helped me find a lot of the organizations. But things that we've either applied for or have considered. There's One Day to Remember, like Rebecca said. There's the Jack and Jill Late Stage Cancer Foundation, Life List from Dear Jack, Wish Upon a Wedding for wedding and vow renewals. Locally, we have our Milton Marks Family Camp. There's just a lot of organizations out there, if you can find them, who are there to support financially, emotionally, and mentally families dealing with advanced cancer, to try and make those memories. But also, you know, if you don't have the energy or the time, or it's okay to not do big legacy projects, families too. You know, I think for us, it's more about layering the connection than a big project. So some of the small things we do is just, I take a lot more videos than I used to. We take a lot more photos than we used to. Joe mentioned the cards that he's wrote that I bought. You know, we record bedtime stories. We record those sweet moments. And for me, you know, I can't fully summarize or capture Joe's life and his spirit and his presence. That I'm never going to be able to fully summarize that or capture that. However, I can't imagine our kids, especially, ever feeling like they have too much of Joe to remember him by. So we just do what we can. And, The caveat is that legacy projects can be really emotionally heavy for the sick parent, but also, for the parent who's trying to orchestrate it. And especially if you're both, if you're the parent who has cancer and you're also that's double. So, I think as important as the project is itself, it's also equally as important to give yourself grace, to outsource whenever you can, and to pause a project or even, say this isn't doable for us, to just scrap it when you need to. Because to take care of yourself, I think is the overarching most important thing.
I also have a habit of outsourcing a lot of my happiness to the San Francisco 49ers, and they haven't they that ain't been a great strategy lately. So if they could turn things around, I don't know if that will help my cancer diagnosis, but it can't hurt.
Putting it out in the universe.
Yes, yes. I'm not saying a Super Bowl win. That might be a little bit. Can we at least go into the second round of the playoffs? That would bring joy.
Well, thank you guys for sharing. Michelle, Patrick, any favorite resources or legacy projects?
Yeah, I mean, people mentioned a lot, like, and it's almost like it's fun to, like, instead of Googling symptoms and side effects, to Google, like, cancer trip, free retreat.
Yeah.
So I've
Please,
definitely,
you guys take advantage of those.
yeah, like, and I have, like, we've applied. We found out today also that Inheritance of Hope will be able to do one of the family retreats. I want to do Wish Upon a Wedding, One Day to Remember, all those things. Zoe's still young for the sleepaway camp at Camp Kesem, but we're really looking forward to that. Always in the groups, people rave about that. I have definitely had, like, paralysis with, like, the writing letters and doing things. Like, I had, a whole list of what I want to do. I, bought supplies for stuff. And it's definitely, been overwhelming. I don't know, there's never going to be a right time. So I try to tell myself that, like, let's pick a little thing, and just start working. Something like, I had never finished her baby blanket, before she was born, 2019. And so I started finishing it, and it was cool because, like, she saw me working on it, and she, like, loves it. And then she asked me to make it bigger so that way it could be like a lap blanket. I still have to do, like, one last finishing thing. Like, I want her to know me, right? So it's like, I I would use different, perfumes in my life. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to pick one scent, because it's like, memories are so attached to sensory. So I, like, wanted her to be able to, like, have a scent. If she ever smelled or, missed me, she could smell that. Voice. I got, like, what was it? I don't know what the name of it is, but they'll, like, rent it out for, like, wedding, or you can buy it for weddings or parties, like a phone, right? But it has, like, a digital recorder, and people can, like, leave messages. And I want to do that too, because I, like, Patrick and I met as adults, right? So he doesn't know me, like, as a teenager in my 20s and my 30s, like, so I want, like, my loved ones to share stories, right, that she'll be able, like, to hear about in the future. Like, we go through, like, pictures and videos with her when she was a baby. I mean, she's already over it. She's, like, a teenager already. Like, she's just like, okay, mom. I was like, no, but look, you're cute, and this was your favorite bedtime story, and look at how sweet your voice is. I mean, even sometimes too, like, I'll just constantly tell her, like, I love you, and she's like, I know, mom. Like, I'll just say it all the time. I'm just like, please let me hold you and love you. So I'm trying to do, like, a lot of those, like, little things. Oh, like, want her to know, like, what I like and what I don't like. So I love the Golden Girls. I started watching Golden Girls with her, like, when she was, like, 4. Inappropriate, sure. She loves it, like, so I want to make her, like, a Golden Girls quilts. I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to outsource that one. But just little things like that. Like, I just want her to have, like, essences of me. I keep badgering my photographer partner. I really want to make, like, take our pictures out of the camera and make like a family wall or portrait wall, right? You know, just even like that we can continue and like just daily see, you know, all the wonderful memories we've created.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. I loved all of these ideas. Yeah, I have gotten to do all of the questions and appreciate your answers. And now we're going to open it up for our fellow participants and their questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Carissa.
Thank you, Deldra. This has just been beautiful. Thank you all so much for everything you've been sharing. I have a few questions and they're all very similar, so I'm going to sort of smurge it into one because it's all about basically the same thing, which is, could any of you say a little bit more about how you've talked with your kids about cancer being either incurable or terminal in a way that's not terrifying? And maybe you haven't yet, and that's partly why you haven't. So if anyone could share some insights about how you've navigated those conversations.
Yeah, for us, you know, Joe kind of touched on this where we're very honest with our kids. Even the 1-year-old, we let her hear the word cancer, radiation, chemo. There's a wonderful book by Harvard Medical School that's called How to Raise an Emotionally Healthy Child When a Parent is Sick. And it gives you very practical, step-by-step resources and a guide basically on what to do depending on how old your kid is. And so, like we said earlier, you know, we tell our 3.5-year-old sometimes cancer goes away and sometimes people get better and sometimes they don't. And for the most part, our kids have really just kind of accepted that. You know, our 3.5-year-old has before kind of said like, oh, I don't want my brain to turn black and get cancer like dad's, which is where Joe was saying, you know, if we don't tell them the information, they just make up in their heads their own narrative. And so that has really helped us. Or, you know, shortly after Joe's diagnosis, the whole family got a cold, and our 3-year-old said, oh, do we all have cancer now? So explaining that cancer is different from, you know, your standard illness. And, you know, and for the most part, they just accept that. They're like, okay, you know, in, you know, their little brains, they can process that. And in the book that I mentioned from Harvard Medical School, you know, the 3 things that they said are the most important. They've studied kids long term who have had a parent with a serious illness. And the 3 biggest measures for long term success have been honest communication, keeping the routine as similar as possible, and making sure that the child knows it's not their fault and that they're loved. Everything else can kind of fall away or ebb and flow, but those are the 3 most important things. And so that's what we keep at the forefront of our mind when we talk to our kiddos.
Yeah, my daughter's 9. I don't think we've gone through like, I have this and that means this, goodbye, you know, yet, because it just isn't fun or, again, I think I said before, like productive, but she's a little older, I think, than other panelist kids. Books haven't been her thing, but she loves this game Spiritfarer, which was on a list that I came across of video games to play on I forget what system, and I'm not like advertising them, but Spiritfarer has been like a great game for us to play together. You basically take care of all the needs of each spirit and then usher them to the Everdoor where they go away in this like burst of light. And it's really beautiful. And so yeah, it was on a list for like parents who have cancer, and we've been doing it a lot, and she really likes playing it with me. And that has brought up some conversations around like, well, where do you think people go? Like, what spirit do you think people become, or these animals become? And what animal would you like to become? And so that's kind of where we are. I think she's also heard all the words, And I have a list of people that I've known who have passed since I was diagnosed. And sometimes, I'll be sad or looking at my Facebook where I moderate a group for women who have cancer, and I'll say, "Oh, I'm so sad. My friend, whoever, just died." And so she does know that people die of this. Um, and she'll say, like, "Oh, that's sad." So that's kind of where we are right now. But, that I think is a really the hardest part of all of this, because the day you're diagnosed, you're like, "Oh my God, I have to tell my kid." And it's like all of this that's transpired in the last 3 years is like how I'm telling her. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. It's, I tell her that, I'm always gonna have to take medicine or as things like pop up, like have treatment. Um, I just last week or this week, I did radiation, palliatively. So like it was hurting my bones. I couldn't really walk. She's heard me like cry and need help like getting up. And so I explained to her like, what that was. And I remember like after it was day 2, like she asked me, she's like, did the pain go away? Like, is that better? And I explained to her, I have more sessions. It takes a while to heal. So always kind of letting her know. And she's seen me change treatment and medication a lot of times. So every time too, it's like the medication stopped working, we have to try something new. She really doesn't ask a lot of kind of questions about it. But we kind of, just same thing the way I update my friends and family, like this is what's going on right now, but just in words that she understands. We do talk about like death and dying like naturally. I mean, the week I got diagnosed, our dog unexpectedly got sick and we had to put him down and we were absolutely devastated. And this is right before finding out it was like stage 4. And like, so, you know, she brings up the dog and we talk about things. And unfortunately, Patrick's father passed away unexpectedly in his sleep and like, went through like a funeral and talking about that. And just this last week, my brother's dog, was kind of like a family dog, died in surgery. And like, she's asked questions like, are you going to bury him? Where's the ashes? Like, what are you going to do? Where does he go? So we take those opportunities to also like in the back of our mind, we're also thinking like, how does this associate with like, what we're facing in our lives? So we just kind of try to keep it open and ask her, if she has any questions. But yeah, I try not to get ahead of myself, right? I don't know what the end is going to look like, or I don't know, like, every day is different. Like, some days I can get out of bed and I feel great, and the next week, like, I'm like vomiting and like not leaving the bathroom. So it's hard to know. So I think we've learned to like just in the moment, like explain and reassure. Like, it's scary for her, like when I'm like throwing up, or crying in pain. And I always try to make sure for him or I to go back to her afterwards, like, and be like, the medicine made me sick. I had to get it out. Like, I'm okay now. Like, how was that? Was that scary? Or, it was loud. But we just try to show her that, like, like, I'm okay now, right? Like we're figuring this out. There's a plan. That's all I can do.
Yeah, and I mean, she's 4 years old. I mean,
Five.
5. Jesus. She cares about a lot of other things too. And like the throwing up thing, she was just like, that was so loud. You could have closed the door. That was her response
Yeah.
to that.
The next day too, I was like giving her like wanted to hug her. She's like, Mama, after you finish doing my hair, like don't give me a kiss because like you threw up last night and like that's gross. And I'm like, got it. She also said like, I can get a new mom. Like, it's okay. I'm like, what are you talking about, young lady? So that's why I say Zoe humbles us in the greatest ways. Like, she's amazing and resilient, but I'm just like, damn, ouch, okay.
Gotta love kids. They just say what they're thinking. And you're right, there's nothing like kids to keep us present and grounded. Thank you all so much. Truly, I just feel like this is very beautiful and enlightening. Very much appreciate all of you. I will send a follow-up email and recording to everyone. And please reach out with any questions. Until then, be well.
Take care, guys.